Welcome to the interview with Renewable Watch TV, and we have with us Mr. Alan Cow, who is currently Director of India Operations at Arctech Solar. So Alan, my first question is that recently we have seen the tariffs, the solar tariffs in India suddenly take a U-turn. From the last we heard 2.44, we saw a price of over 2.8. In the recent Karnataka bids.
Yes.
So why do you think the tariffs have suddenly shot up?
Thanks, Dolly, for the opportunity of this interview. Talking about the tariff rate increase, I think there's several reasons. For example, whether this new projects, it is a solar park project or not. Definitely for the non-solar park project, the total capex will be higher than a solar park projects. That's why the tariff could be higher, and there be some other reason, like previously the tariff is so low because at that time there's not so many tender were there. That's why all of the developers are bidding this tender very aggressively, and they reach a very low price. But right now I think a lot of tenders going on in the January, February, and in March, April, I think it's more than 10 gigawatts solar and wind projects were coming up. So that I think all the developers are confident to get more projects. That's why I think we can see this tariff hike in the market. Of course, one more reason it is right now for the solar module. We know there's some uncertain policy like anti-dumping duty and the safeguard duty. Although we don't know what's the final rate, but it increased the expecting price for the solar module. So that's why I think the developers want to be a little bit more conservative. That's why they bid at a higher price. Yeah.
Okay. What is the general international practice as far as the anti-dumping duties and safeguard duties are concerned in other comparable markets like India?
The other market?
Yes.
Different markets have different situation. For example, in US, basically anti-dumping rate is pretty high. Could be more than 40% for some of the brands. But for example, for Europe, they have this MIP called minimum important price. They set a timeline. You cannot sell the product lower than this price. In India, right now we are hearing like two things. One is anti-dumping, means you have to pay this duty during the customs clearance. The other one calls safeguard duty. So safeguard duty is like the government will hold some percentage of the cost for a certain time. So it's not part of the cost for the product, but definitely will increase the finance cost for the entire project.
So these duties are mostly imposed on modules and cells. How does it impact a company like Arctech, which is mostly into tracking solutions and mounting structures?
I think it will be impact in a good way. Okay. So since the module price will be higher,
right.
The investment, the total capex will be increased for the entire project, which makes the solar tracker more attractive because your investment increasing for using a tracker compared to a fixed structure will be less. So I think it's a good news for using solar trackers. Thus, I think more developers will tend to use trackers for their projects. Yeah.
Interesting. How is Arctech placed today in India's market? How has your journey been so far in India?
We start our business from 2013. We have the first track project actually, end of 2013. Later in 2015, we get the first big project. So in the last 2-3 years, we have reached 2 gigawatt milestones for solar tracker and structures shipment. Right now we can see definitely we are the leading supplier in the market, and we think this is most important market globally, and the potential is still big if we consider the 100 gigawatts of the national solar mission. So we will invest more and focus more in the market. But still, we will look more on the solar tracker opportunities, because in the last 2-3 years, what we observe is like due to the PPA price is dropped dramatically. All the developers are facing big pressure on the cost down part. If you look at the solar fixed structure, the tonnage will be decreased. It's already decreased from 40 tons per megawatt. Now the minimum number I heard is around 20 tons per megawatt. So actually, we think we are in a like vicious circle. The low PPA price, low price for the materials, and low bidding price and low PPA price. So it's a wrong thing. So we have to jump out of this circle. That's why we are more focused on the tracker part. We do more education to our clients to convince them to accept tracker solutions. That's why this year our focus will move from the fixed structures more on the trackers.
Yeah. So currently, where is your manufacturing based mostly?
Right now, our manufacturer is based in China.
All of it?
Yes.
Okay. And do you have any plans for setting up a plant in India?
Actually, yes. We have these some investigations actually.
Okay.
We have submitted the reports to the headquarters, and depends on the holding company's decision when and how we start this program.
Okay. How have the costs of various materials that you procure have changed over time, and do you see these costs going up or down in future?
The material for the tracker and structures.
Yes.
Actually, if you look at the tracker price trend in the last few years, global average price is moving from like previously it's like 17 or $18 per watt peak, starting from the US or like North American countries. In the past few years, it's dropping to like 15 cents, then 13 cents or 12 cents. I think the trend will be still decrease in a certain way, maybe going to 10 cents sometime. But if you look at the material, the structure design is going to be there. You have to make sure the structure is safe. That's why we think it's going to slow down, but there will be a bottom line will be there.
Okay.
Yeah. But now I think the price is still good enough to most of the projects to use tracker. Yeah.
So developers now have become initially they were hesitant to use tracking technology.
Yes.
But I guess developers in India have now become very, you can say, conscious about increasing the efficiency, so have become more accepting of using solar trackers. What kind of a potential do you see now in the country? How much percentage of the total capacity will be using tracker solutions?
Actually, in 2016, India is one of the country which have in Asia Pacific region, it have most tracker shipment increase.
Okay.
So far, I think in India there's already more than a gigawatt tracker installations, and maybe almost 2 gigawatts. So in the next coming years, I think, especially in the southern and middle states like Karnataka, Telangana, AP, Tamil Nadu, all of these states are the perfect locations for using trackers.
Okay.
You can get more than 18% of more generation in those states. So I think developers should look at those projects to calculate their finance model, change the fixed structures to trackers. Probably they will find a new way to get more IRRs for their projects.
Oh, you're talking about the existing projects?
Not the existing projects, the future projects.
The future projects.
Yes.
Is there a scope of changing the design of existing projects, which are fixed structure-based projects, to tracker-based projects?
I never heard about that actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. What are the kind of issues and challenges that people face with using trackers over years? And how do you resolve that?
Basically, I think the technology keep improving. For the past few years, we face some issues. Basically, due to we have a very good service group, like we have more than 10 people, 10 engineers in India, which can take care of the after-sale service in a very short time. So currently, all of the track projects moving good. But if you're talking about the challenges for the new projects, I think there's some challenges. For example, for the government tenders, they have a limit for the land usage. Basically, like per megawatt, you have only 5 acres.
Right.
And in some tenders, you have a generation cap for the projects,
Right.
which makes the tracker not very user-friendly for that particular projects.
Okay.
So I think if future the government can like open this limit, so I think more track projects can happen in future. Yeah.
That's right. So Alan, what are the various product offerings that Arctech has for India, and what kind of innovations shall we expect in coming years?
Yes, Dolly. Actually, talking about the product innovation, Arctech is one of the company like keep improving our technologies all the time. So right now we actually bring 2 exciting products to the market. One is our Arctech Pro, the link row solar trackers, which we have supplied a lot in the market, actually more than 700 megawatts. So for this project, we made a big optimization, which in order to do the cost down. So basically, we changed the solar, we changed the torque tubes from a square tube to a D-type tube, which allowed us to match the strength requirements, but at the same time reduce the material and the cost. So which makes these products more cost-effective and more reasonable to use in the market. The other products called Sky Smart, it is individual row track design with 2 portrait module. So because of this special design, it's compatible with bifacial module. So the bifacial module plus tracker could be one of the market trends. Actually, it's already happened. Some tenders require this tracker plus bifacial module, like in some Middle East tenders. So I believe this also a trend in India market. So as per the calculation, by increasing around 10 to 15% of investments, you can get up to 20 to 35% of generation gain. So it is a very, we think this could be one of the future trend.
In India?
Yes, in India.
Interesting. So which means we can expect a range of new products to come into India, because India is a focus market for Arctech.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
Maybe I can close this by asking you about where exactly is India placed in Arctech's global revenue share, and how do you see that going up in future?
Globally, out of China, India actually is one of our most important markets.
Okay.
Actually, we call it our second home market besides China. So past 2-3 years, India contributes the majority part of the revenue, for sure, since the big volume of 2 gigawatts. But definitely, I think in the future, because now Arctech Solar is expanding to more countries. In Asia, we are working on Japan, Australia, Vietnam, Philippines, more countries. And also, we have offices or representatives in North America, Latin America, and Europe, Spain, Middle East. So we're expecting more projects will be happening in those regions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, and
Thanks,
thank you
Ollie.
so much for taking out time for us.
Thank you.